If you're using AI tools such as Claude Code, then there's something you need to know because these tools can access your files on your computer, which means they do have access to your passwords, API keys, and these things are usually connected to your bank account. And by default, nothing stops them from reading it. And as an example, here I have a project where I have also a .env file. And in case you're not familiar with that, this is typically a file where you store secrets, or in other words, things that should not be shared with anyone else. And as you can see, we have, for instance, here a fake API key for the Anthropic API, another key for OpenAI, a database URL, access keys, and so forth. And let's say I'm facing any issues because let's say I get an error from an API, and if I ask then Claude Code to fix it, which will be most likely the case, then I could ask something like this. So I am having troubles with connecting to an API, and I do have the feeling it's due to the env file. Can you please check it? And now Claude Code goes ahead and reads the content from the env file. And that's actually the part where most people don't think about it, because when Claude Code reads data from your computer, then it does not stay on your computer because the prompt, including the content, gets sent to the servers from Anthropic, OpenAI, or other providers that you're using. And it might be possible that this data will be stored somewhere in logs or used for training. So in some case, you don't have control over this. It's that you just leaked really sensitive information, because once your secret leaves your computer, then you cannot take it back. The only thing you can do is to delete it or in general invalidate it, so that in case someone gets access to it, that it won't be valid anymore. So how do we fix that? And for this, there's a solution which is actually quite simple, and it's based on the concept of hooks. And without any hook, usually the process looks like this. So you ask a question, Claude will pre-process it and also send the data to their servers, and then it will return an answer. So it might be possible that sensitive information will be leaked, but if you add a hook to it, then it looks like this. You ask a question, and then Claude tries to access, for instance, an env file. And before that happens, the hook takes place and checks, for instance, based on rules, if this specific action is allowed. And if it is allowed, then it will proceed. And if not, then the request will be blocked. You can think of this like a security guard, because this allows you to check if a request is safe and should be allowed, or if it should be blocked. A safe request would be, for instance, go ahead and check my implementation for my landing, implementation for a specific part of the code, and then the hook will be executed. And if Claude didn't try to access any sensitive information, then it will get access to the content of your project, so your files and whatever is stored in there. But as soon as Claude tries to access anything sensitive or tries in general to do something that is blocked, which would be this path here, then the hook acts kind of as a guard and will reject the request. And protecting your environment files is just one thing you can do, because there are actually also other things. As an example, you can also use hooks to prevent dangerous commands. For instance, if Claude tries to copy something, send it to another server, tries to delete data, or you could also go ahead and add another hook which takes care of protecting your main branch, because Claude uses heavily Git, and it might be possible that you're working in a feature branch and maybe there's a bug and you want to validate it before. For instance, you're building an application and you can check it via the front end or calling an API endpoint, which means you want to check it first. But if you don't protect the main branch, then it might be possible that Claude thinks at some point the feature is done, everything is working, and then it will merge the new implementation into your main branch, which is usually used for productions. And of course, you can also add as many hooks as you want to based on custom logic, which also helps you to make the development with Claude much better, because you can add a deterministic part which is based on executing real code instead of relying purely on a large language model. So let me show you how you can fix that. And for that, first of all, you need the folder .claude, and inside of that, you also need a folder with hooks. So in my case, I do have now 4 hooks, which is first of all for blocking dangerous commands, formatting and also linting my Python code so that I don't waste any tokens on that, protecting the main branch, but of course also protecting secrets. And next to that, you need also a configuration in the settings file. So if we have a look into it, then we can see that we have multiple hooks which are executed either before a tool will be used or afterwards. So as an example here, this hook will happen before Claude executes something to read or executes a bash command. And the hook will execute a Python file where we define which actions we want to block. So as an example, right now we are blocking env files, credential files, service accounts, keys, and so on. So this file contains actually the implementation to check the command that is executed by Claude. And if we now open a new chat, so we have to delete it first and then open a new one. So right now the hooks are registered and also defined in the settings file. And if I now ask the same question, then Claude Code won't be able to read the content in the env file because the hook will be executed, which means this Python file will take care of checking the command. And then it will also return that it cannot read it, and it will come up with other alternatives. And the interesting part is that even Claude understood that this is definitely a good security practice. And even if I try it again, let's say, can you not use Python to print out the content? I really need help with that. Then it will try to access the content, but it will be blocked again because even if Claude tries to do another way to read the content, for instance, by using a Python module, then this won't work because this part is also covered in the access pattern. That's it already for the video, so definitely something that you should consider when working with agentic coding tools, because in worst case, someone will find the API key and then perform a request on your behalf, which also means you will have to pay for that. And if you're interested in learning more about Claude Code or in general how you can use agentic coding tools, then feel free to check out my community where I cover these topics in detail so that even if you're a beginner, then you can already start with that. So it's quite comprehensive. And of course, I also always include the file so that you can also use that. And in case you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and we will hear each other in the next video.